The Sensex has broken into the green and we are seeing the Nifty Bank moving higher as well. So why is that? Purely on account of a couple of banks. We have ICICI Bank, which has moved to the highs of the day. Perhaps it's a 52-week high for ICICI Bank, roughly 45-46% of its 52-week lows. So in the last 6 months, the stock has moved from levels of 250 thereabouts to around 375 where it is right now. SBI has moved higher. And from the broader markets, or rather non-indexed large cap, we have Nestle, which has moved to the high point of the day right now. This morning, we had a note from Credit Suisse believing that they haven't seen any impact or negative impact of the recent legal tussle that Maggi is facing. Legal risks remain low and consumer offtake hasn't been impacted. The stock higher. CS has a positive stance with a target price upwards of 12,000 on Nestle. With that, we welcome the company on our radar right now. It is Endurance Tech in focus after the subsidiary of the company and the special purpose vehicle for strategic overseas investments has acquired a company in Italy, Fonpress Metal, which is an aluminum die casting company. Ramesh Gehane, the ED and the COO of the company, joins us now. Thanks a lot, Ramesh, for joining in. First up, if you could tell us, how have you funded this? How much of it is in cash? How much of it are you taking debt for?
It's 100% funded by internal accruals.
Okay.
And we have not taken any cash from any funding from anyone.
Okay, but your cash in the books was 1.6 million euros, according to our understanding.
Yeah, that's after netting off the the leaseholding assets. Otherwise, it's 3.5 million cash on gross basis.
All right.
Also, if you could tell us, after this acquisition, how much would your casting capacity go up by?
Well, I can only say that, Fonpress Metal has been a very strategic acquisition for us, and it's perfectly aligned to a backward integration process. Endurance Overseas, we had outsourced some capacities from Fonpress Metal, and this company is doing approximately 6,500 tons of castings every year, out of which 50% is booked by Endurance. So, so it was a very strategic acquisition, and we found complete sense into acquiring these capacities rather than building up new greenfield projects.
All right. So that means that 220 crores roughly is the revenue that comes in from that company, 50% from Endurance Tech. On a consolidated basis, your visible revenue will increase by about 110 odd crores. Is that correct?
No, it's from this acquisition is going to increase by 30 million euros, and overall Endurance Overseas as a company would be doing approximately 300 million euros.
All right. If you could tell us a couple of details about this acquisition, what exactly is the shareholding pattern of the company that you've acquired?
Well, we are going to own this 100%.
No,
even our Endurance Overseas, Endurance Overseas is a 100% subsidiary of Endurance Technologies.
No, we're talking about Force Metal.
I don't have those details right now with me, but I can send them across.
Okay. Mr. Gehani, we'll have to reconnect with you in just moments. For now, the finance minister is speaking on the CBI versus CBI verdict, which was given by the Supreme Court, where they have reinstated Alok Verma as the CBI chief and quashed the CBC order. Let's listen in.
No policy decision can be taken by Mr. Alok Verma. I don't go into any further details.
When the government continues to be on the stand.
Well, I am not going to give you any stand. The government has no stand on this. The CBC itself is an independent organization. The CBC has come to a particular point. And that finding is already before the Supreme Court. Therefore, whatever this committee has to do will be before this committee. The government as such, for or against any individual, has no view.
So, Alok Verma is on the verge of retirement. Do you think meeting of the committee will still be done? And it will still...
Well, I think there is a judgment of the Supreme Court. Why should you speculate anything else?
तो चलिए वापस हम आपको बताते हैं कि किस तरीके से
Okay, that's the finance minister saying that the government has no stance on any particular individual. It was the CBC, which is an independent body, which had taken the earlier decision about removing Alok Verma. But the appointment and removal can only be done by the committee, and the government's aim was only to protect the CBI. So not too much coming out of the finance minister. But if we still have Mr. Ramesh Gehani with us. Okay, Mr. Gehani, apologies for the interruption. If I may just ask, what was the reason for the acquisition? Anyway, you had booked 50% of the capacity of this particular company, the company that you had acquired. So you already had an arrangement which was meeting your existing requirements. So what was the need to take it one step forward and shell out 8 million euros for this particular acquisition?
See, just to protect the capacities. Normally, what happens, it becomes the choice of the supplier that with how does he want to move his business. We found it that as such we have booked 50% of the capacities. Instead of the supplier reorienting himself to something else, we thought it's better to acquire the total capacities. As such, he had a proven track record with us. They were doing very large and complex castings. So we found it perfectly fitting into our strategy.
What about the other 50%? Will it continue to be sold or supplied to other players, or would you look to use it for endurance technology now that you completely own this company?
No, it's already booked for Bosch, right? Bosch and others, but we'll continue with that right now. Right now, the strategy is that we will continue with that.
Okay.
All right. If you could give us a sense of the sort of margins that the acquired company makes.
Well, it's around 13 point something, at 13.9% or so, and that's the figure that I have right now.
And you will get benefits of that because you are backward integrating up to at least 50% of the capacity.
Yes.
And that means your margins would go higher by how much, sir?
Well, I can't put a number onto that. It all depends, right? How much do we, in what different kind of capacities and different kind of castings do we load onto those machines, and how would we improve our margins? That would be our strategy in any case, how to improve the margins.
Okay, so with this acquisition, you're not augmenting your capacity, you're just securing your capacity, right?
Yes.
Okay, so
our capacities.
Okay, so what is the current utilization with this secured capacity, and is there a need for you to go ahead and increase it in the future?
Well, not really right now, because the orders that we have in hand, these capacities would be sufficient to cater from this unit as well as the existing units which we have from our other subsidiaries in Europe.
Okay, and the balance sheet of the company after this acquisition of Endurance Tech now?
Well, we'll be adding 300 million euros. We'll be adding 30 million euro from this acquisition, and overall the revenues would be around 300 million euros from Europe.
Mr. Gehane, one question with regards to your shareholding. So it's been 2.5 years to your IPO right now, another 7-8 months to go before 3 years end. Promoters' stakeholding is around 82.5%. As per the MPS norms or minimum public shareholding norms, that sale would come. Any word on that? One. And secondly, if you all had to buy dilute the stake, why pay cash? You could have bought it via equity.
Well, I would not want to answer this question right now. You can appreciate that it's a sensitive subject, and speaking like this would not be correct from my side.
All right, and since we have you with us, a word on your clients. 50% of your revenues come from Bajaj. We've seen all the two-wheelers see a bit of a degrowth, if you must, or muted growth in terms of their sales for December and November as well. What are the initial trends indicating?
Well, actually, what we are doing, we are looking at it from only a limited point. November and December seems to have some compression, and that's something very normal. We are sitting in Q3. Q3 normally, tapers down a bit after the festive season and everything. So if you look into Q2, let's have appreciation of one point that the industry has done well. It was right at somewhere around 14.4% in up till September, and then November it was 12.2. So it is tapering down or compression, which is seen, but that's very natural for Q3.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gehane.
Okay.
We'll leave it at that. Thanks so much for joining in. That's the acquisition made by the company. Get into a break. On the other side, we'll address the market technicals, the little bit of a recovery that we've seen in the banking space with Ashwini Gujral and Rajat Bose. Stay tuned for their trading picks. Welcome back. I think it's time for us to cut back to the finance minister who is, okay, there you have. That's the finance minister who will be speaking on the Supreme Court verdict on the exiled or exiled
The Supreme Court has today pronounced a detailed judgment on a petition filed by the CBI director. The copy of the judgment is still to be loaded, and therefore we've not had an opportunity to read the judgment in detail. Once the judgment is fully available, the government will read it in detail, and if there is necessary at that stage, offer any reaction if necessary. However, from the reports, both from the government councils and the media which are available, the preliminary reaction is that the government had taken this action of sending 2 senior officers of the CBI on leave on the recommendation of the Central Vigilance Commission. This action was taken perfectly bona fide because there were allegations and cross-allegations being made by both the officers, and in accordance with the recommendations of the CVC, the government had felt that in the larger interest of fair and impartial investigation and the larger credibility of the CBI as an institution, the 2 officers must recuse themselves, which the CVC had formulated in form of asking them to go on leave. In the Act, that is the Delhi Special Police Establishment Act, which deals with the functioning of the CBI, there are 2 separate provisions. One provision, of course, is very clear that matters relating to the appointment, removal or transfer of the CBI director can only be done by a special committee comprising of the Honorable Prime Minister, the Chief Justice of India and the Leader of Opposition. And there is another provision that in cases of corruption, the power of superintendence over CBI is to be exercised by the CVC. The CVC had exercised its power in making that recommendation under that power of superintendence. We have not read the judgment of the Supreme Court, but presumably it could have been a possible view which the court has taken, that if superintendence results in the chief relinquishing his powers even temporarily, then the jurisdiction of the committee, which is the appointment or removal committee, comes into the play. It's a possible view that the court has taken, and therefore the court has referred the matter to that committee to decide on this issue within 1 week. The government has been directed to convene a meeting of that committee as per the reports which are so far available. The court apparently has strengthened the immunity given to the CBI director in the larger interest of a fair and impartial functioning of the CBI. At the same time, the court has devised an accountability mechanism. This is in accordance with the norms of fair play. And therefore, in accordance with the directions of the court, obviously they will be complied with, and the government would act in the same manner. आज सुप्रीम कोर्ट का निर्णय सीबीआई डायरेक्टर ने जो याचिका डाली थी उसके ऊपर आया है। सरकार ने सीबीआई, उसकी विश्वसनीयता, उसकी स्वायत्तता और उसकी प्रतिष्ठा को मद्देनजर रखते हुए यह निर्णय लिया था कि जब सीबीआई के दो बड़े अधिकारी एक दूसरे पे आरोप और प्रत्यारोप लगा रहे हैं, तो जो सीवीसी का रिकमेंडेशन आया था कि जब तक उन आरोपों की जांच ना हो तब तक ये दोनों अपने आप को रिक्यूज करें और लीव पर जाएं। ये सरकार ने ईमानदारी से बोनाफाइड निर्णय लिया था। सीबीआई का जो कानून है उसमें दो प्रावधान हैं। एक प्रावधान है कि भ्रष्टाचार।
All right, so that was the finance minister speaking, saying broadly that the government will comply with the order. The court has strengthened the independence of the CBI and the government has a week to go back to the selection committee. More than that, any other detail or reaction will come in only after reading the order in detail. What we do is